I'm going to show you how you can fix your palm-sided wrist pain in just 7 minutes. For those of you who might not know, Elliot and I have specialized in working with gamers, desk workers, and individuals who deal with repetitive strain injuries of the elbow, wrist, and hand for the past 8 years. We've spoken at medical conferences, written textbooks, published research, and have dedicated the past decade to try to address this huge gap in the healthcare system. If you spend a lot of time using your wrist and hand for work, gaming, or whatever it is that you love doing, and now you have pain on this part of your wrist, the palm side, it's more often than not due to the tendons of the FDS and FDP, the flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus. And these are the muscles that are responsible for bending your wrist and fingers down into flexion. And these tendons travel through the carpal tunnel and are the main cause for pain at the palm side of the wrist, not carpal tunnel syndrome. And Elliot explains this in full detail in this video over here if you're curious to learn more. But this happens with repetitive activities like typing, using the mouse, playing guitar, drawing, etc. because your tendons and their muscles can only handle so much stress. If you exceed that limit, then you can irritate those tissues. This often happens when you suddenly have to use your wrist and hand for whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be finishing up a work sprint if you're a software engineer, a drawing project if you're an artist, or just gaming for up to 9 to 11 hours a day for several days in a row. And these are some of the common examples that we've seen in the past 10 years. Or another possible way this can happen is after several years of performing your activity without focusing on physical health and endurance. You add on a sedentary lifestyle and your body can become more weak or have less endurance. By endurance, hello wrist pain. So here are a few quick tests that physical therapists or a physio might perform to confirm a problem at your wrist and hand. You can perform some resistance for the muscles, and if you feel what you normally feel, this can suggest some tendon involvement. You can also stretch your wrist and hand back completely to see if it also creates some discomfort. And you might not always feel something, but if you feel your pain with both of these tests, then the tendon could be involved. And just as a disclaimer, this video is not to diagnose, and it's always best to work with a physical therapist that understands RSI so they can combine the understanding of your clinical history with objective tests to best confirm a potential problem. Now, for some of you, the pain might have started in the past week and it feels irritated. You do not need a brace. You don't need to wear a brace 24/7. It might be helpful at night because it can help prevent positions where you end up bending your wrist for the duration of the night, and that can cause some morning stiffness or an increase of pain. But rather, you should start by doing some basic wrist and hand movements like wrist circles, some gentle stretches, some self-massage, and that will allow you to reduce some of the pain but also maintain some of the mobility and movement of your wrist and hand. And then from there, you can look to implement some of the exercises later on in this video. If you're someone that has had pain for more than a week, then you should start by doing some of these exercises. And the main focus of the exercises will be to build endurance of those muscles that we talked about earlier. My favorite exercise is the dumbbell wrist flexion exercise, but you can also use a doorway. For dumbbell wrist flexion, as I mentioned, this is for endurance and targets the muscle and tendon involved. You want to choose one that is around 3 to 5% of your body weight. Got it? Good. Now there's two ways to do this. One with your arm rest or resting on your thigh. And the main goal is to ensure you're isolating the movement at your wrist. And for each repetition, you're going to be rolling the dumbbell all the way down to your fingers, then all the way back up. And if this is too difficult for you, then start with less range of motion. You'll be doing 2 sets of 15 to 20, moving slowly throughout the movement. And you may feel a little bit of discomfort on the palm side of your wrist and hand, but this is normal. As long as it is less than a 2 to 3 out of 10 or it's not sharp, you can continue to perform the exercise. If you don't have a dumbbell, don't worry, you can use your doorway. All you need is a doorway with a frame. You'll be using a frame to perform a rowing movement, which also doubles as a great exercise for your back. This is a great exercise because it provides high load isometric resistance for the tendons. And based on the finger contact point, it also targets the deepest muscle in the palm side of the forearm, the FDP. This muscle is really important for bending the finger and wrist, and from our experience, is often one of the tendons involved in palm-sided wrist pain. You want to do these exercises consistently every single day for at least 4 to 6 weeks, because this is how long it takes tissues to adapt. And for those who've dealt with this for a longer period of time, you might have a longer road to recovery because of your current level of conditioning. You might have really lost a lot of HP and can only handle very little, but you have to work that up. And there's always going to be a point where you feel better and might feel ready to get back to work, typing, playing music, drawing, or crafting. At that time, it's important to not stop your exercises. Keep going and build a routine for yourself that you're going to stick to at least 3 to 4 times a week, so you can ensure that you have the endurance to handle whatever it is that you love without any problems or risk of irritation. And while you're getting back to it, try to reintroduce that activity that you love slowly. Start with an hour or so for typing or gaming, or a few minutes for something that's more strenuous like the guitar, and ramp back up from there. So it's important to gradually increase the amount of reps when you exercise, so you also keep building up your endurance. And if you don't want to do this alone or figure out how and when to do these exercises, you can check out our app. It actually gives you a personalized program, the specific exercise for your pain, and not only in the palm region, but some of these other regions as well, and determines the right sets and reps based on your actual endurance. You're gonna actually have to do some self-tests. You can track your progress. It's gonna guide you on how you can improve things over time. But the best thing of all, you actually get access directly to us in a private text channel, so you can ask us anything about your entire progress or the exercises. So remember, when you do this consistently, you're gonna be able to get back to using your wrists and hands to type, game, draw, or whatever you want without pain. So I'll see you guys in the Discord.